Paul Tudor Jones is betting big on DJT winning the election. I actually got an email from somebody asking if I could take a look at DJT, and I'm always happy to take a peek at whatever you want me to. That's kind of a fun game of analyzing what you're interested in. So I started looking through at a broad sense, and there's a few things that I think we should talk about. But this piece of news, I actually think is kind of a big component here. Now, to be abundantly clear, I really couldn't possibly care less about anybody's political leanings. My entire premise of that is you should do whatever is right for you. Now, there's a reality, though, behind election impacts on the stock market, and that is the lens I aim to talk about this through. Right now, Kamala Harris doesn't really have an ETF or a ticker that's largely associated with her and her brand like DJT and Donald Trump has. So that's why this is part of the conversation here. If Kamala did, I would talk about that one as well, but she doesn't. As it sits, there are different ideas for whether or not a Republican wins or a Democrat wins in terms of what's likely to move in terms of sectors, but those are more just generalized, less precise tools. This is a really interesting scenario that quite literally there is a stock that is directly tied to one of the presidential candidates, and it gives us an opportunity to essentially price probabilities along with prediction markets, which we're going to take a look at as well. So, as looking through the news to get myself started, I thought this was really fascinating. So from here, this is from 11:08 today, Pacific time. And this is a conversation. This is from Market Watch. And it says, another billionaire investor positions for a Trump when he's placing inflation trades. So let's read through this together. Legendary investor Paul Tudor Jones said Tuesday he's moved his portfolio in the direction of a victory by Donald Trump in the 5-nov presidential election, but warned of a potential reckoning over a burgeoning U.S. debt pile regardless of the victor. This has been in more and more conversations. Debt right now is exceedingly high. It's literally like the U.S. has debt through our ears and spending is still very high. Again, not looking to get political, simply just looking at numbers. And those are the facts. We have a pile of debt. So Jones goes on to say, I have moved in that direction for sure. And he has a massive following in the markets. He's one of the brightest minds in the eyes of most people. And he says, if he had repositioned for a potential victory by Trump, the Republican nominee, over Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate, it just means more inflation trades. So that I actually find really interesting. You could see that they're long gold, long Bitcoin, and still believes that they're very, very much undervalued here. Which, if we take a look, gold is actually still hovering highs. So it's interesting to see this perspective here. So let's continue on reading. It says, the bigger question, Joe said, is whether there will be some point of recognition, particularly with all the tax cuts that are being promised by both sides and the spending plans. He noted that the U.S. government debt has grown from 40% of GDP to nearly 100% in 25 years and appears to be on an unsustainable trajectory. So, yeah, this positioning conversation by Paul Tudor Jones is really, really interesting. And here's another big thing, again, for anybody that's interested in the latest on this. I saw this going through, but it looks like Trump is going to go on Joe Rogan on Friday. And let's take a look now at what's been going on with the ticker itself. We can see that implied volatility percentile is very high. So there's essentially 86%. So most days are lower than where it is today. Implied volatility, I am a complete buffoon. In case you were wondering, this is really great metrics for gold, but we actually don't care about gold, I don't think. I was wondering, as soon as I got to the implied volatility and I saw it at 17%, I was like, something's wrong here. This is better, 300%. This is the stuff we're talking about. So implied volatility percentile, not in gold, but in DJT, is actually 98%, where 247 days or lower. So this is pretty elevated. We can see IV right now is over 300%, and 5-day average daily range is 9.3, 5-day average true range 8.47. So overall, pretty profound movements, and it's been on an absolute tear. It's gone from 17 3/4 on the 24th of September, and it's essentially cracking highs here, term highs almost on this 3-month chart, coming right up to 34 and change. So volume is being bid up heavily, although volume is starting to slow down. The 5-day average volume as it sits today is 42.3 mil. 20-day is 34.8 mil, and today's volume is 55 mil. So still definitely exceeding all of those averages. You can see volatility has just been climbing. This is always interesting when volatility is climbing as the stock is going up. That's not normal. Normally, when the stock is going up, appreciating in value, volatility will contract. But this just means that the market has no idea which way this thing can snap, upside or downside. That's why we're seeing volatility move as it is in relation to it, which is also very interesting. Now, to take a quick peek at Polymarket and to take a look at the presidential election, if we pop into here, we can see what the probabilities sit as it sits today. And it's showing probability of Trump winning is 64% against Kamala at 35.8, so call it 36%. Kalshi, another market, is showing 61% by 39%. So again, these kind of discrepancies actually are tradable for cross-exchange arbitrage. But the bigger note here is that it's clear, at least as it sits today, that Trump is generally favored. This is looking at Nevada, but funny enough, it actually is the same here. This rotates, by the way. That's why I started reading Nevada, because it moved on me. But it's the same anyways, which is kind of interesting. So he definitely is favored. And then for anybody that's interested, this is a really cool Norse music band. This is called Wardruna. I like them a lot. I just realized that that song is on that tab. I listen to music a lot while I work, but great song. So anyways, let's take a look at the options market here, because DJT has been, I mean, literally flying off the shelf. And there's a lot of people that have been speculating in here. Now you can see a lot of people are actually trading the downside. Now, DJT is interesting. This actually offers an opportunity to trade a couple different ideas, because if you think Trump is going to win, you might go long the stock market and short DJT as a hedge. One of the ways that you can play a pretty large position, but hedge your risk so that you don't get blown out. Now, I also think that there's got to be an expectation of a pullback at some point, because again, if we take a look at this, this is a absolutely massive, massive run, and sooner or later the music stops. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see if that's part of what's being priced in here. So we're seeing 388,000 calls against 468,000 puts, and a good bit of them are 15 Nov. I don't think that's a big surprise. These are literally to play the election. So 156,000 calls against 160 on the put side. And again, so you can tell most of the OI is centered around the election period itself. So a couple other things of note is if we take a look at the implied vol for the out of the monies, you can see that this thing is all over the place. Let's clean it up. Look at 15 Nov and 8 Nov specifically. And spot price as it sits right now, it was up, 9.87% today. It's sitting at 34.40. And I mean, right now, vol is a little bit rich on the put side compared to the call side. So the put side's being priced a little more heavily than the call side. So yeah, really, really interesting spot here. Now, in terms of expectations, as always, really, really hard to say. This is going to be a very news-driven thing. So it's not like you can value DJT as a company, as a stock, and try to think about what its earnings are going to be or stuff like that. Is literally being served as a proxy for Trump winning the election as it sits now, which is kind of crazy. So if you're thinking about trying to value this or play this, just know that you're really just playing those expectations. And as those expectations oscillate leading into the election, this is going to continue moving. So, but right now it looks like people are positioning definitely for an election play here. We'll see how it goes. Let me know which way you think that this is going to go, because I don't know. It's a coin flip to me. Always interesting though. Lots of IV. Let me know if you want me to look at anything. If you need anything, hit me up in the Discord. Be an outlier. I'll see y'all later.